May I see the bills list again, then, please? Thank you.
Is Reese down there? No.
Sorry, skipping up. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda number 3, chair comments. Board against executive session meeting to discuss personnel and litigation matters. And this evening, we do not have our manager Dan Fox, so please be aware. Please be aware. Please bear with us. Agenda item 4, presentation. We have Lemon Valley softball dugout proposal.
Hi, I'm Michael Horvat.
Would you please come and stand at the beginning?
Sure, love to. Jeremy Motley is our commissioner. He is tending to the girls right now, so I'm kind of here in his stead. Hopeful that he walks in any moment. We met with Parks last month, and we're trying to get permission to submit permitting for pavilion structures over the softball benches for the girls. The boys have full-blown dugouts at the fields. The girls are subject to the same conditions those boys are, and have been trying to make dugouts happen for a while. We spoke with Mr. May. I'm not sure if he's here.
No.
Tonight, and he provided some guidance, and we built Park and Rec. Here's Jeremy. And we got their blessing, I believe, if you reviewed the minutes from their meeting last month. But because the property is not owned by Lemon Valley, we are capable of getting the project permitted. So we're here for the next step.
I have a question. There's something in the memo about site of line or something.
Mr. May said that this was something that was already, we believe, approved years ago, but there was no funding in place. Around the same time the batting cages were done for the girls, there was some turnover.
Yeah, and it's our understanding that the line of sight issue is just to not enclose the dugouts. We're looking for a root structure, no backs, no sides, so that law enforcement can have clear line of sight from front to back of the park.
Mr. May framed it as avoiding a sports complex. He said It's not a sports complex, it's a public park, and any value for the girls getting a dugout is outweighed by the infringement of the sight lines.
Right.
Those dugouts in the back for boys.
Yep, it's true. Sure do.
You won't see back. But it's even be up in the front of the here, so you can barely see the parking all the way toward the back parking. These would not impede that.
Yes. The enclosed dugouts are all the way in the back against the tree line. Yeah.
Yeah, the girls would love dugouts, but if that's not feasible, then simple pavilion structure to provide some cover would suffice for us. And that is what we reviewed with Parks.
So that's your basic plan, is to just put up 4 poles.
Sure, yeah, and we had a 3D rendering of that. The file on that was lost. We do have imagery we can share and a concept draft that we can just pass around if you want that. It's a very simple sketch. Structure, I don't know where I should go with this.
Do you have concerns about?
And I believe that the concept has always been to have the ability for the police department to have that line of sight through the entire park. Now, based on the activities and things going on, that's sometimes difficult just by the number of people that are in that area. I'd have to look at it more closely to see how it would impact, us having the ability to have a view of the entire park. But like I said, there's times where, it's difficult as it is based on the amount of people that are in the park.
Well, and the wall that's down there by the soccer field.
Right.
I can't imagine there's great visibility through that.
So those drawings are, I believe, were the original approved drawings that I had in a file after the residential turnover at Lenape Valley softball. So those have come around, and they're very similar, the two schematics. It's basically
Nice drawing.
6 posts and a roof. We
Lovely.
just want to keep the sun and the rain off the girls at it. We've been out there for 4 hours already. It's hot.
Yeah, chief, I don't see where that's gonna block the view.
I wouldn't be opposed.
And it's the 3 softball fields, which are the 3 softball fields?
There are 3 fields total.
Yeah, softball is,
Yeah.
it's field 1 is right at the
Yeah.
front of this parking lot, and then the 2 just down the hill. Right, so they're all in the little loop of where the drive is.
And there's benches on first base and third base
Yep.
sides. So we'd like to get all the benches covered. It's gonna be a matter of really getting permission and then funding.
And then, would be maintained. Who maintains the dugouts?
We do.
We do. So then, if we're maintaining them, should you as the person who's going to be maintained, have some kind of, not oversight, but at least be involved about what the structure is, what the materials are, that sort of thing.
As they said, Bill May has been a part of this conversation.
Yeah, we
from
stood-
day one.
Okay,
He is well aware of everything that they are proposing.
His only request for us was roofing. He preferred using standard asphalt shingles. That was it. That was the only request he made.
I mean, if you guys want to maintain them, I'm happy to put them together however you want. You tell me what you want, we'll do that.
Long overdue. My girl played that for years, long overdue.
I would say the same, as a coach for Lenape Valley, we go to a lot of neighboring townships and we're one of maybe only 1 or 2 that does not have any covering for girls. And I think the pros outweigh the cons. All it would take is 1 girl in each stroke. That would be a huge issue, but this would help prevent that.
What do you think is your timeline?
That's a good question, but I would love to have them done by the fall. However, it's gonna be dictated by funding. So once we get approval from you, then we didn't want to invest anything into it until we knew that we could move forward. Then we can go find funding and we can try to get,
It's a lot simpler for us to court the goodwill of
Yes.
some of the folks local that are likely to contribute when we already have permission in place to do so.
okay. Thank you very much for the presentation. So that they take you to the next board meetings on the agenda. That will be well.
okay,
Thank you very much for your presentation.
thank you, I apologize for my time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Agenda item B, emergency operation. Good evening.
Hello, thank you for having me. Good to see everybody. So I'm Mike Italia from Barry Izett and Associates. I'm your emergency management coordinator. Tonight's agenda, you have an action, a resolution there to adopt the newest promulgation. That's facilitated by the turnover of the board. Once it gets more than 50%, it's time to update it. So the state likes to see that nice and clean. That's gonna send up to the county and then the governor's office eventually. But I understand there were some questions that you all had, and so I'm here to answer them for you.
Whole list of questions. So.
Should I sit down?
So some of the things are very minor. We just need to update. There's some sections that information's just missing.
It was mostly the contact information
Yeah,
was
contact
outdated.
information. Right, date, chart, date. We don't currently have somebody, the org chart says logistics support for public works. Ryan put people in May, but it only listed Ryan's name. So my thought is if Ryan is not available, who do they, they need somebody else supporting it. So that's, why bother having a plan unless we have it really comprehensive and shows where we're doing it at this point in time? I think it makes sense to dot all our i's and cross all our t's. And then a lot of the facilities, some of them were out of date. And weren't there anymore, and I'm sure we've had turnover of new businesses and stuff. There was like Philadelphia Sports Club was listed on the vulnerable facilities list. That's not there anymore. They're putting up townhomes. And then one of the things it's just a concept, is we've all watched the news and we've seen places of worship become targets. So should they be added to the list of vulnerable facilities? Would that make sense? And also, would it make sense to have them, because a lot of times they serve as shelter in place types in emergency events. A lot of times they are the designated shelters, so coordinating with that. Yeah, do you want to answer any of these?
We had sent it out to all the departments for their review and input. So that's what came out, and I don't know, did you give them what I put on the thumb drive?
I gave it to Dan, has it.
So that's what you should have. It should all be dated 2024 or the end of 23. So we only went off of what was provided us and what we tried to figure out what was still there or not. It hadn't been touched in well over 10 years, just to let you know, as you can see with some of the stuff there, right?
Yeah.
As for the vulnerable facilities, we would coordinate with the police chief on what we would list there and, you know, have a collaborative effort on that. I'm not against adding those. That's a little bit larger thing. It's a threat assessment. Okay, so infrastructure, facilities were high value targets and whatnot. So that's something we would coordinate with Chief Clouser on that.
Sorry.
We're used to it. It's fine. It's some people want it in there, others it's a different threat assessment and it's not specifically listed in that plan.
We just need to update our resources list. I don't know if I have. No, I'm not sure if I was looking at the most recent one. I was looking.
Yep. So everything's in the 2024 folder.
Like eco tips.
Those shouldn't have changed at all. It's always I'll double check. They'll be there.
Because
Right. If it didn't change, if it still has an old date on there, it didn't. It didn't. We went through every page. Yeah, it took us quite a while. It was a mess. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been overthinking.
It's okay.
Where all of this came from. You know, need to use the plan, but I do make sure we all in play if we do need.
Sure, totally understandable.
It is still listed there.
So I'm just asking.
Okay, it might not have, it might have been a different business.
Any other questions?
No. My whole list of questions, sorry.
Well, Bobby.
Totally used to it.
I don't have any questions.
No. Definitely. No. Thank you for looking over it and bringing it up to date. So what would be your schedule for doing updates? Is it every couple of years, every time that the board has changed?
I like to review it. Well, I'd like to review it annually, but it's only as good as the data that we're getting from the fire marshal's office, building and codes on the businesses changing. We don't know when that happens. So getting that information is going to be important from that, you know, David's section there. And then the chiefs, of course. And then the promulgation would be facilitated by any board changes, significant ones. So basically 3 of us would shift that we need to redo it. So the township as a whole, just to give you a little background on us, there's 8 of us on staff. We managed to get Upper Dublin Township through their tornado disaster where it sucked up the entire township building and all their records are gone. So we've consulted with the previous managers on how not to fall into that records management system, getting stuff on the cloud, backing things up. You don't want your papers to end up in Plumsteadville, right? So that's what we're trying to avoid. Tornadoes are picking up in frequency in the area just with the way the weather's moving. So we pay attention to that, review the reports that come out of from the dam, that's released from the county and whatnot, and the Army Corps of Engineers. So we pay attention to those type of things, and we communicate any assessments that we get, whether, obviously we have heat advisory coming up for the next couple of days where it's just going to be very, very hot. But we also communicate with the winter months, or if there's a significant weather event that's going to be coming, we get it out to the staff as soon as possible. So it's communicated to constituents and you guys, so nobody's caught by surprise.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank
Are there
you.
any questions from our public about our emergency management? Please stand up and state your name.
John Jones, you do walkthroughs of your plans, and also do you include the private entities?
We do not do walkthroughs. The fire marshal's office would be handling the walkthroughs. Private entities, in what sense?
You engage private entities in your walkthroughs. You include businesses in your walkthroughs.
Yes, that's part of the fire inspection program, that they're in there. There are certain facilities where there would be assembly occupancy, where there could be a significant amount of people located. That's what would be located in the plant, or factory or industry, those type of things. It's not just public facilities.
Right.
Please stand up and state your name.
Deb Rendon, Helen Road. Just wondering, do you have language interpreters?
The county provides that resource.
They do.
Yep, if need be.
Very good.
No problem.
You need Spanish, okay.
Any other questions from the public? Any other questions from our staff? Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful evening. Let's see.
Skip the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
See you later.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah. Yeah. But.
Okay, that ends our presentation. Moving on to agenda item number 5, motion to consider consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 3rd, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting? B, approve regular bills list dated June 13th, 2024 in the amount of $204,823.19. C, approve prepaid bill list as follows, dated June 6th, 2024 in the amount of $90,476.89, and June 13, 2024 in the amount of $131,750. $31,751. Bill, and I have Stephanie to second. Any questions or concerns from the board? Any questions or concerns from the public? No? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Action items onto the agenda. We have action item A. Consider a motion to approve the Lenape Valley TNT softball tournament. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Bill, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mary Beth. Ryan.
Yeah. So, on May 21st at the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting, Lenape Valley requested approval for a 3-day tournament at North Branch Park on July 5th, 6th, and 7th from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. using softball fields 1, 2, and 3. Staff recommendation and Park and Rec Board recommendation is to authorize the use of North Branch Park on those dates at those times.
Do I have any questions from the board?
I am guessing that whoever's in charge of making sure there's additional facilities or additional people will be taking their steps.
Yes. And we would be very thorough in upgrading. So I was gonna say, I believe this tournament has gone on for quite a few years now, if I'm not mistaken.
So we do have a permitting, park and rent, parks. Permitting. Process, that's the word. Thank you.
Yes, all of that has been.
Yeah, but that's where they start. Is they come to the township, level permitting, and there's a standard system for that, right?
Yeah, they've already gone through that whole process.
So I have a motion and a second, I call the vote. Oh, is there any questions from the public? Do I have, I call a motion? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Action item B, 6B, consider a motion to approve resolution 2024-10, final land development plan of Virgin Environment Road, Toll Brothers. Do I have a motion?
So you want them, you would pick up the first or?
Sure. Well, let me jump in first. Amen 65. Staff prepared resolution 2024-10. We got the message. I think they did as well. That have someone with a clean letter. So we worked with their staff, my office, to have a very clean letter for their final approval. Staff prepared the resolution. Like I said, there was one additional item I'd like to bring your attention, and in your packet should be a response letter that everything that will comply to our review letter of June 3rd, 2024. There is one waiver that we requested based on the design, and we do support it based on this type of townhouse development, how close the driveways are and how wide the driveways are. They get kicked into a requirement to have a grade change of a maximum amount between the driveway and the street. If it's a 12-foot driveway, they wouldn't need the waiver because they're greater than 12, which I think Scott and I have been talking. I think we need to look at that. There's no difference in use. I'm not sure why that was in there. It's more for shared driveways. It even says shared driveways, but with all that being said, Colebrook development that was last approved has the same design. I think they're at 14% grade change or max grading. This is really for where the driveway, the concrete apron comes off of the street. So it's just a small section. The whole entire driveway is not steep. Randy does look at those as well. So that is one waiver that was not requested. We brought that to the attention of the engineer. We worked that out and support that waiver. That is in your resolution. I believe everything else will comply. Will comply. The layout has not changed. We are down to a few comments. So I'll turn it over to the board or residents, unless Dave, you have anything else to add?
No, just in addition, picked up a couple things. All the streetlights will be in accordance with the Butler Avenue corridor overlay streetlight detail. And it was a planning commission suggestion that we incorporated, but otherwise, yeah, we'll comply. Work to get clean letters to be here this evening.
Yeah, they were incorporated. The EAC had recommended that we work off the new list. That's not adopted yet, but we're working on it for the new updates. So they agreed to that. That condition is in here along with the lighting. So I think that's it.
Was there something where you had agreed, I'm not sure I saw it in the paperwork, about it being dark sky compliant with the lighting? I know that the features are outlined, but I think we granted a waiver that may have been in the resolution at the preliminary approval. I'm not certain you really consider what type of light bulbs are in the.
No, and that's, I mean, if there's a fixture that we can work to that's approved within the Butler Avenue corridor overlay district that does provide that shielding and has the appropriate lighting, it's not an issue for Toll Brothers.
I thought
so I think that was in the preliminary.
Yeah, we did. That's referenced for the preliminary.
Yeah, and all the conditional use conditions are carried forward as are the preliminary. So no issue by us.
Yeah.
And any questions from the public? Any questions from the board? No, so do I have a motion to consider approval?
I'll make that motion.
Mary Beth, do I have a second?
Second.
Stephanie, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Thank you very much, motion passes.
Good evening.
Motion, action on C, consider a motion to approve curb spraying quotes. Brian,
Newbury Township requested services or curb line leak control from 3 different contractors. Boyer and Son, who no longer provides that service, Moran's Landscaping for $7,000, and Integrated Turf Management for $68.85. Staff recommendation is to proceed with Integrated Turf Management to complete the curb line weed control for $68.85. Integrated Turf also does our spring and fall fertilization of all parks.
any questions from the board?
I have a question. Where are these sidewalks or curb spraying for weeds?
All curbing in Britain Township.
So in residential developments?
Yes.
So my question is, why is the township spraying when the curbs are the responsibility of the individual homeowner?
Good question.
Typically, we keep the road.
I'm gonna say,
Period.
it's to eliminate any weeds at the curb line with the road.
So from the road to the.
Where the road meets the curb, there's a seam,
Yes.
and then
Could be edge of pavement spray instead. Or that's not how we do it, right?
Make it responsible for the curb, but.
So protecting the.
It can impact the road, I mean, it typically doesn't, but more than a nuisance.
So I'm just gonna say this, I would like us to pursue a alternative that does not include glyphosate or whatever the heck that's Roundup, which has been proven to kill pollinators and is also a human carcinogen. So I cannot in any way support a spraying program of carcinogen. And I'm also surprised to hear that this has been sprayed, because if I had known about it, I certainly would have opted out. I would like our residents to be aware of this and see if they want to opt in or opt out. Because I don't want that stuff sprayed. It's gonna wash right down into the sewer system, into our water. And we're gonna be drinking it for the rest of our lives. We've been told for years, and I'm pretty old, not the oldest, but pretty old. And I can give you a list of things that we were told were safe and fine, that we all found out later is not safe and fine. So I'm really not sure why we're doing this, if it's really not benefiting, and I don't think that most people in this township aren't aware that we're doing it. Do we have to complaints really about weeds in the road?
I don't know about complaints. It's a.
Weeds will deteriorate to asphalt all the way to the curb over time.
Over time.
You put some pretty good thistle, it'll rip up that asphalt pretty quickly.
I usually just weed it. I usually just pour vinegar on it, which is
Oh.
not a vinegar.
They put vinegar on it for it? Can ask.
30%. Not the regular vinegar, household vinegar, 30%. I would just like to see if that's possible. Because that's really becoming the norm these days. My comments.
So my question would be, this a recurring expense that happens every time. So it could be part of your budget. So future. So.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's always been part of the budget.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so any other questions from the board? No? Any questions from the public?
John notes. Would it just be resolved by putting a thin strip tall along the street and curb?
It is.
Well,
so
what I do is I just like seal.
It is sealed when the road is paved, obviously, as time goes on, the seal does wear. And there are cracks that form. It's a never ending battle.
So it's spraying, right?
Sure.
Madam Chair, just to clarify your question, or kind of a question or comment, I think because everybody doesn't have the numbers, but based on, since this township doesn't have a lot of curbs compared to some larger townships, your quotes or bids come in low enough for the threshold that it doesn't have to be bid out. So I think Ryan explained that whole process in your packet, but for the residents, the reason you don't have to technically make a motion to award a bid is because they're low enough. So they're below that threshold. And I don't know if they've always been on the board agenda in the past. Some have, some, but once they rise to the level, we have to bid it out. And that's where I get involved with Public Works and put together a bid package, like your road program for ratings. But these numbers are a lot lower, so that's why it's not being bid out.
We're gonna go across the room. Left or right.
Zoe Combs, in Britain. I'm here for another reason, but I just want to make it known, like I've lived here 22 years. I never even knew we did that. And besides the front of my property where the curb is, we walk our dogs. We're out there with our kids, and I think you brought up a good point about what we're using and if we're aware of it. Now, obviously, a day later or 2 days later, maybe it's not affecting anybody that's like right near there or animal or whatever. But as you said, it could go in the water. I just was never aware that we did that. And I feel like we all take care of the front of our, I'm sure there's properties that are not taken care of, but just not really understanding why that's not the homeowner's responsibility. Maybe, as you brought up, Mr. Jones, which you've been on this board a long time, maybe there's issues that I'm unaware of, but just as a resident, I never even knew we did that. I just want to bring that to everyone's attention because I'm sure there's some people that didn't know that. And the cost is not astronomical, but it's not just a cost issue that I see. Not being aware that that's happening. I don't know if you put out a notice, Ryan, when that happens.
I don't know that we do, I think we might post it to social media, but as far as.
Yeah, right. So just bring it up that as a resident, that would be a concern, and I'm never in these meetings, but since I'm here, I figured I would just make a comment because I'm sure there's other people.
Thank you. Name and address.
Margaret Briggs, Forest Park Drive.
Please speak a little louder.
Margaret Briggs, Forest Park Drive, 245. I was just reading the one of the bids, and it said something in it. I don't know if it's the one you're selecting, but they were only aware of one residence that was within 500 feet of the curb.
Yeah, there's a hypoallergenic list that anybody can put their name on, and they go to that registry to see who is on that list, and they steer clear of that residence because of.
Okay, so we need to communicate that so people can get on the list. And then this is just a really silly question probably, but is there any way that our street cleaner has tough enough bristles that it can pull the weeds as it clean? No. Okay,
because that's
I said it was a silly question.
We just did the street cleaning a month ago, I think. So I think we're hearing that it may be a good idea to look forward to next year and see if there are any other options. We could do that. That would be well received by our residents. So do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Bill, do I have a second?
I'm guessing questioning, do we need a motion to approve this if it's part of the budget already?
Well, that's where my.
If this is the budgeted item, why are we even?
Well, that's on the agenda.
I was told to put them on the same thing with the.
Yep.
the line striping and thermal, I was asked to put them on, but they are budgeted items, so I was.
I would say the way this kind of differentiates is that now we're making a contract and that versus like purchase order through a vendor, this is more of a contract, so that's the idea of why it's been placed on the agenda.
Can we just approve it?
Yes, you would be selecting the low bidder and.
Integrated turf management.
Yeah, or to do the work for 6885.
Correct. And motion and a second.
So, I think that's a moment when there can be further discussion. Just in case, Kathleen Davis, 3230. If this sort of gets agreed upon as something that doesn't need to become an agenda item, I think that the concern of the community and the suggestions by some of the board that the method of handling this problem be revisited, would suggest that you do keep it as an agenda item so that it can come back to the service and be discussed. I wouldn't want to see it all of a sudden just disappear and not come up with something that could potentially address. That makes sense.
I think one of the things that we could do as part of our website update is that when we have these things possibly coming up, is to make sure that that information is put out there in enough lead time. That if you have a severely allergic person or a severe situation, that you have time to get in touch with the township so they can make sure that whoever does the work is aware of that.
That was one of the issues.
Yep. And I would say as an environmental issue, that could be discussed if you would like to bring forth a recommendation maybe next year. That would be one of those things that would fall in that environmental looking after our township.
Definitely. Okay, thank you.
So we do have a motion and a second to approve the contract with integrated turf management. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against?
No.
Passes 4-1. Moving on to action item D, consider a motion to approve the line striping and thermo quotes. Ryan.
New Britain Township reached out to 3 different vendors for quotes for our annual line striping, the long line. The contractors were Guidemark, A1, Traffic Control, and Alpha Space Control. Both Guidemark and Alpha Space Control provided identical quotes that came in at $16,447.80. Staff recommendation is to proceed with Guidemark for the line striping, as they were tied for the lowest estimate, and we've used them in previous years with no issues.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? No. Do I hear a motion to approve assigning the contract for line striping and thermo quotes to Guidemark Incorporated?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second? I'll second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Ryan. Okay, action item E, consider motion to approve road bid award recommendation. Shall I pass this to Craig first?
Brian, can I start?
Ryan's gonna start?
You can. Go ahead.
Are you going to fire it?
So New Britain Township worked with Gilmore on the 2024 road program, which consists of Glen Drive, Marshall Circle, Brook Lane, and Brittonwood Circle. Bids were through Penn Bid. They were opened on May 29th at 10 a.m. There was a total of 7 bids received. After review of the bids, Harris Blacktopping was the lowest responsible bidder. We recommend that the contract for the road program be awarded to Harris Blacktopping for all items included in the base and the alternate bids in the amount of $410,795.90. approximately 302 of the project contract qualifies for liquid fuels funding. The township would be responsible for 109,000 for the concrete work that is not covered under the liquid fuels.
And can I ask, what is the concrete work that is not covered under the?
It is curbing, that would be curbing and sidewalk. Some of the sidewalk is on township property, and some of the curbing would be assessed to the adjoining property owners that have not replaced it before the road program starts.
And how successful has the outreach been to the residents about the upcoming road program?
So 109,000 is worst case scenario, and I'm venturing to say that probably 50% has been completed by residents in that ballpark.
We, at staff, at least want to give you the worst case scenario. So you're already, I didn't have that information, but so you're less than that, but when you prepare the recommendation, I just wanted to discuss it with Ryan, just so you see the entire, it'll be no more than that. That's already going to be nice. You were gonna, from past experience, I think Mike Walsh was handling that, was chasing quite a few people at the end, and it does drag on, but it won't be, you know, it's already gonna be less than 50%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Might have to 20%.
I think it was around 80% before.
Yeah. So. And just to add on, we have, our office has worked with Harris Blacktop before, I know the townships.
We've never worked with
them here, but we have other townships. We have no issues or concerns with them.
And how does this bid feel? Does it feel like we're getting, is it high? Or is it low? Is it about ballpark to what it's been 2 past years?
I would say ballpark.
Yeah. I was actually pleasantly surprised this one. You got some good numbers. You had quite a few bidders. Yeah, there's sometimes when you get these, I know it's probably hard on your iPad there, but you can see where some prices are really outliers with other contractors. You don't know why, but overall, I thought your numbers were very good compared to some other clients that we've had that have already gone out and already done paving. They got the earlier January, February numbers, which you have to have a large road paving program to do that. You can bid on that. But I thought your numbers are very, very good and they're within range.
Any other questions from the board? The portion that we're responsible for, we already have that in our budget, or?
It was supposed to be, yes.
Okay. So make sure you look at the Fridays. Any questions from the public? Please state your name.
Devin Dunn, Diana. How many miles is that contract for? And I guess my question, the other part of that question would be, you guys have your own paving equipment going now. So what criteria do you use to determine what you're going to pave and what you put out there?
So I want to say it was 8 or 0.75 miles.
A little under a mile.
I was gonna say it was a little under
a mile, but I don't have the exact.
Little under a mile.
Yep. You can click it really up.
Okay, and how much did Keller cost? Sorry.
To scratch that, that was 20,000 to scratch that.
So what?
Just to do like a skim coat.
No, you did it quite well. Oh, this is rip out the road and put in a new road?
Yeah, this road program is mill.
Inch and a half.
Scratch.
Completely different than what you guys did do with your little neighbor.
Correct.
It's not saying that. Okay. So do I have a motion to approve awarding the road bid to I've lost it now, Harrison Blacktop Incorporated?
I'll make that motion.
Stephanie, do I have a second? Second. Bridget, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Action item F, discussion of the following zoning hearing board application. Dave.
Sure, we've had one new application come in since the last meeting for 128 Hampshire Drive. It's basically, they want two variances to allow 42-foot rear yard setback where at least 75 feet is required. And to allow a proposed deck roughly 30 feet from the rear property line where at least 60 feet is required. It's basically a corner lot on Hampshire and Devon. So it already has that hardship with the setback requirements for a corner lot. And that neighborhood also is built in a B2 cluster way before we put a B2 cluster in the ordinance. So anyone in that development that wants to put an addition on the rear of their house or something like that, they're always coming to the zoning hearing board for a variance. So this one seems very minimal to me. I'm just the zoning officer, so I don't think that's so, but that's really it.
Scott or Craig?
Yeah, just to continue what Dave's saying, yeah, they're putting on a small addition and a deck. The hardships they have, they're already within the setback requirements to begin with. I think the one I wish my printer was better, but rear yard, I think it said they're already at 44 feet and they're going down to 42. And then the side and the front yard. There's an addition that cuts into the front yard, but it's actually no change. It's even with the current front of the property, based on what the information that's been provided in the application. So, you know, as Dave said, this is something that's just been going on within that neighborhood. One of them's de minimis change. The other change, you know, it's reasonable within where they are within their use of their property. So we would see no reason for the board to notice this application.
Feelings of the board? Any questions from the board?
Like we could let the zoning hearing board decide.
Agreed. Agreed. So, yeah, so this one, the other two, applications on the board, we will still be sending
Yep,
you.
I'm still tending for that one, those two, yes.
Okay, action item G, is there a motion to authorize hiring an entry level police officer? Chief.
Yes, Madam Chair. Based on discussions that I've had previously with the board, about strategic expansion of the police department, the first step would be to hire an entry-level police officer. Therefore, that is the request for the board to approve the hiring of a entry-level police officer that I will identify by August.
Do I have a motion to order? Bridget? What do you say? All those in favor, please say aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Consider a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-2 for the Verizon franchise agreement. What?
Yeah, I guess we did pretty simple. I think last month you authorized the advertisement of the ordinance. Cable franchise agreements. It's a federal law, federal program for cable companies that franchise them out. It's used the roadway space, either utility. The township has used the consortium with taps. They're represented by the co-op group. They're based out of Pittsburgh. They do this type of work exclusively for municipalities all across Pennsylvania. I've worked with them in every municipality. Even when I was solicitor in Allentown, same thing, we use them as well. So they get you the maximum amount of revenue items that they can find. It's a 5-year agreement. That's been the biggest thing with Verizon recently. I think they've been saying it for 5 years, but they're slowly in the move because of the advance of streaming and everything like that. They want shorter agreements because they don't know how much longer they're going to be doing cable television. But as right now, we still know we have that 5-year agreement in place.
My only question is, since this was negotiated last year and we should have done this ordinance last year. Is it really a 5-year agreement from now, or a 4-year agreement?
Yeah, I spoke with Phil Franco, the attorney representative from consortium, said, yeah, whenever we sign it, it'll be 5 years from that date. So what happens is, even though the agreement, I don't know if the current one was expired or not, they didn't do it ahead, but even if it was expired, you operate. Cable companies will continue to operate under the old agreement until such time as the new one is put in place. So it'll be 5 years from whatever date we place on it after it's signed.
Does that then stop us from being part of the renegotiation with the consortium when it happens again?
No.
We
in the word, as Phil said to me, we are not the fastest to get it done. We are not the slowest to get it done. We're somewhere in the middle, so we're okay that way.
Thank you. Do I have any questions from the board? No. Do I have any questions from the public? No. So do I hear a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-02? I'll make that motion. Mary Beth to second. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Action item I, consider a motion to adopt resolution 2024-11 for the emergency operations procedures and communication. I was going to pass that to Dan.
I can talk it for.
Thanks, I mean, it was basically your presentation from up here today. There's changes that, like you said, there's changes that need to be done, and we'll work on them, but for the most part, it's ready to be done to start the process and get it up through the governor's office.
Any other questions from the board? So regarding the things that the approximately.
Yep. Yeah, as Mike said, he likes to try and do it annually, so. But when you're 11 years out now, I believe he said, so, yeah.
I'm assuming you're part of the team that helps work on that emergency operations.
I am, Ryan is, but then Dave is, so we're most of the department heads are have a plan.
You want to add anything? No? Okay. Do I have a motion? I'll make a motion. Second. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Action item J, consider a motion to support the grant application from Giant. That was also good.
Well, we could ask members of our audience who are familiar with that to speak on this.
Since so on background, our EAC.
A second read the agenda item.
Yeah.
All right, so Giant has announced the grant as part of their Keeping Pennsylvania Beautiful program. Township's Environmental Advisory Council's applied for the grant, is asking for the township support and permission to plant trees on township property if the grant is awarded. And the staff recommendation is to approve a township letter of support to accompany the application.
Since we have the chair of the EAC in the audience, would you like to give us just a little background on it? What's the timing? Why is it before us at this moment?
Sure. So we have walked the suggested planting area 3 times now, Margaret and I the supervisor, Mary Beth, and who is our EAC liaison. And then again today with Ken Jones, who knows a lot, as you know, about planting these various areas. Of course, Dan and Ryan want to approve the area as well. What it is along the narrow macadam path that comes down Big Forest Drive and runs along Pine Creek Road. And that path floods quite often. It's difficult to put in a good riparian buffer there because the gas line runs along the creek and crosses the creek. But there are 2 basins on the other side of the path that would be excellent sites for some tree planting that would suck up and prevent so much flooding, not only the path, but shooting down the storm drain area and dragging sediment into the water. And we think that community would really be engaged and enjoy working with it, and it would be a great benefit to the community because it would improve the condition of the path. So it's a win-win-win as far as we can see. Brian's looking like, what does this mean? I think we.
Are you talking about the Pine Run path across the street?
The tree planting areas are nowhere near.
Oh, yes, we wouldn't mess with the path.
It's nowhere.
Say you're in basin too.
But make
There
it
are
by
basins-
Basins to the left side as you're walking.
Oh, really?
That was part of, we just did the survey, that was what kind of.
So I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna move this on. The grant is for $4,000. Not a lot of trees. But the application is due by July 1st, which is why we're here today. And all they're asking for right now is support to apply for the grant.
What we'll do is we
The
get,
place where they'll be planted.
yeah,
will
we'll
be
worry about the
determined at a
location,
later
because
date.
we're a year or two out with that. We just did a SWIFT design, there's budget constraints, so. If you touch that area, Ron, we'll make sure where you're putting them, it's not gonna be the area where because we want to naturalize those basins, so we'd probably be involved in that and.
Is that what you were thinking of doing?
Yeah, we were, yeah.
One constraint here is, this new giant is doing very short time to apply. Hasn't been very long. 2 days.
I saw that.
It's July
I
1st.
saw that.
And the planting is November.
By November.
The end of November, really fast.
Well, there's other places in the township.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's not.
But they have to put a location. They
Oh.
ordinance. Now, I spoke with them on the phone. And I think that we said the township has decided to work their basis with the particular location. I think they would probably say is, if we were to get it.
Wait, just interrupt you. You have a specific location of each tree or just an area?
Just an area.
Fine, we're fine. We'll figure it. We'll just put them on the backside. We'll figure it out.
This is just to support their application,
Yeah,
saying
that's-
to support them, that will allow tree planting somewhere in the township, so. We could work out where the plan is going.
What she's saying, it has to be.
Okay, so let me think if this is what I'm hearing. That the grant requires that you need to say where you're going to plant them. But Craig is saying that the area that Kathleen is looking at has some flexibility that you could put them somewhere back further back away from where they're thinking of doing
Yeah, Ryan.
future work. Sorry.
Okay.
There we go.
We're all good.
So it would work out.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so any other questions from the board regarding this endeavor? No? Any questions from the public? No, okay, so do I have a motion to support the grant applications and write a letter in support? Bridget, do I have a second? I'll second that. Mary Beth, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay. Action item K. Consider a motion to approve the fuel bid award recommendation. I will pass to Ryan.
There you go. So on June 12th, 2024, the 24-25 fuel bids were opened by the Bucks County Consortium hosted by Northampton Township. There was a total of 7 bids that were received. Riggins Inc. was the low bidder for unleaded regular and ultra low sulfur diesel. Staff recommendation is to award the lowest qualified bidder Riggins, the unleaded regular and the ultra low sulfur diesel. Colonial Oil Industries was the low bidder for number 2 heating oil. And staff recommends awarding it to the lowest bidder, Colonial Oil Industries, for the number 2 heating oil.
Are these bids within your variability?
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions from the board? No? Any questions from the public? No? Do I have a motion to approve the fuel bid award as recommended by staff?
So moved.
Bill, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mary Beth, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. That is the end of our action items. On to informational items. Departmental reports. First report, finance with Kristen Carpenter.
Good evening. Highlights of the department report are that we're very similar to prior year. The real estate taxes have come in at 94%. The budget seems, I would imagine, that we have unspent items, but that is not unusual this time of year because we're looking at road pavement and some other construction that you have to wait until, it stops raining and snowing. So that's going on. And then I am looking at investment opportunities. Strongly leaning towards Univest and Penn Community with CDs and money markets. But I have had a follow-up phone call with their wealth advisors, Penn Community, and I'm just trying to understand Pennsylvania and some investment opportunities, and they're suggesting that government bonds and those kinds of investments are something that we could look at. I'm only looking. I'm not making any decisions on that.
So you're looking at the flexibility, to put all on this money at a certain point.
Correct, because with the CD, the money market is luckily there's no lock-in on the dates. Whereas with the CDs, the shortest amount of time I have is 6 months, and it goes up, and I'm not going beyond a year with some others. But it would be nice to have some more short-term investments other than the checking and saving accounts that we have.
Meeting with the sound. Dates for that.
We've decided to table the new accounting system because as a new township manager has come on board, he would like to review the processes and procedures that we have before you put in a software. So we've decided to table the idea of an accounting software. And especially since we're also looking at web design, we have to maybe do a little bit more research to see which package can work well with a web page.
So how the payroll system, is it ready to be launched?
It is in the process. We are gathering some data that they've requested. The go live date is going to be in August. It seems to be going pretty well.
Any other questions? Thank you, Christine. Next departmental report is from the police. Chip.
Yes, Madam Chair, my report for May has been submitted and is in your packet and pending any questions from the board.
Any questions for the board? And how is that corporal settling in?
He's doing well.
Okay, next department is Public Works. Ryan.
So majority of the men spent in our portion of the site. Coleman property. We based in the parking lot, with 0.5 millimeter. We constructed the rain garden, there's. We've come a long way since I could talk about more, but that'll be in next month or two. But that project is moving along pretty swiftly. The other main talking point is the fuel system, fuel tanks and the fuel management system that was installed at Public Works and police facilities is completed. Everything is up and running very well.
On the property, school that the vets put up and the bike racks are in. It's on it. It's moving on.
I do have a question. Did you plant the rain garden? Or just prepare the bed?
So as of this report, no, it was not planted. Is it planted now? Yes.
And you do have water to that. Water plants?
No, but we have been watering it.
We got flooded all spring and then you're ready to plant and plant. You know, we're 95 degrees and you're ready something.
Actually, I do have two questions. How are you doing? I see that you're doing maintenance on the leaking gaskets for the dump truck. How are you going with the official mechanic? Have you been was that done in-house? You said yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we are being a full service.
Yes, we have members of the public works department that are very adequate.
We haven't had two.
No, the only thing we've outsourced for the most part is inspections.
And how's the new fuel system going? Is everybody happy with it?
We haven't received any complaints from the police or EMS or like fire company, so. Hopefully we.
Any other questions for Lauren? Park and Recreation, hi.
Hello again.
We're gonna get every single one.
So Park and Rec performed their daily duties. We were actually down Park and Rec employee for 3 weeks due to a non-work related injury, but he has since come back. In that time, there was a 14-year-old minor that did 4 hours of community service with the 2 crew members that were present. All parks received their spring application of fertilizer, which was provided by Integrated Turf Management. We held the annual spring yard waste dumpster. That's pretty much it.
How well received was that spring dumpster?
To my knowledge, pretty good.
Was good. So you do not see any need to expand the hours, reduce the hours?
No, I don't think so. I think what we have said has been good for the pace.
Questions from the board? Any questions from the public? I'll go from right to left this time. Kathleen.
I've always been curious about what happens with your
So we hire Republic Services, and I do not know exactly what they do with it, but I'm assuming they take it to the landfill, I guess.
What public services?
Republic Services.
Republic Services.
They probably do.
I mean, okay, I'm good for now.
You're starting a list.
So I just wanted to say the Coleman property looks fabulous, really does. us to walk in, and it looks really great. And the place, I can't speak for wherever else we stopped mowing, but I came home from a graduation party on Saturday night at 10 o'clock, took the dog for a walk. That area across the street, I haven't seen that many fireflies in 20 years. It's amazing. It's just lit up like you wouldn't believe.
On the backside of.
In the backside by the woods where it's not mowed, where there was a tot lot at
Yes.
one time. So many fireflies. It's
That was a program you started 2 years ago, was to, in certain areas, reduce the mowing.
That was last year.
Just last year. Was there anywhere else other than that location that you can think of?
That we've done that?
Yeah.
Up the road at.
Across Park Avenue in the open space between West Fairwood and West Fairwood. Hey, I didn't name the streets.
That's a horseshoe.
It's
the next.
There are spots of the Goldman property that are going to be naturalized, so to speak. But yeah, we are working towards.
That's great.
Any other questions for Park and Recreation? No. Okay. Planning and zoning, Dave.
Okay, so this thick report was put into your packet. I don't know if you want me to bore you. Okay.
Read it.
Okay. We're busy. A lot of permits issued this month. A lot of permits have come in. We're managing right now. So, but we're getting them out. Inspections, yeah, a lot. So, but it's that time of year. Spring, summer, are busy time. So, it's definitely expected. So, but anything else you want to know? I can bore you. Let me know.
Use and occupancy, are they new houses, old houses? Just
On
average?
No, a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I mean, you have the Fox Lane homes at High Point, we're getting used for that.
The first wave.
The first wave, and then, but I'd say 60-40, 70-30, somewhere in there, between old and new right now. Yeah, yep.
Any other questions from the board? No? Any questions from the public? No? Okay, moving on to engineers report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have our May engineers report. One change, which we actually just discussed a little while ago, the North Branch Pine Run Park. The surveys are complete, and actually we uploaded to the server the survey plans and emailed, sent everything to Mr. Fox last Wednesday. They're manageable. We can, I was looking at the future police building addition / site / what are we going to do with the renovations. We can zoom in on those, so we can have detailed survey information for around this building, for any of the future park playground areas where we have drainage issues or just look at regrading. We can zoom on that, and then also over at Pine Run Trail, so we work on the basins and the trail. So we just created 2 big properties, existing features plans, but we can manipulate those plans to whatever anybody needs. So whether Bill, Ryan, police, as we move forward with all these projects in the future that we create, and we put them on your server. So that survey was a big undertaking. That's what you approved for this year. So we'll stop now. Right, part of the capital planning committee discussion as far as next year. As part of that, also, Mr. Fox asked us to dust off our numbers for the Keller Road Bridge as far as our cost. We're trying to, again, plan that. Not only is the design, structural analysis and all that very expensive, the permitting, the scour protection is probably the easiest part underneath the Keller Road Bridge, but for our next committee meeting, I think, July, I'll have some new numbers for that. And then it'll come for you to decide how we want to plan out the next 2 years as far as the budget. side. So that's also an update from my last report.
Any other questions from the board? No, any questions from the public? No. Board of Supervisors comments. I'm going to start with left-hand side. Bridget.
The Veterans Committee completed the planting of the ornamental plants to enhance the memorial that's outside of that building. We had a lot more people show up than we had anticipated. So not that it was a huge crowd, but we even had 2 children come out. I don't remember what the name is of this. It's Sewa, SEWA. Anyway, and they just go around and volunteer and do different things. That was great to have them out, and it was done in a remarkably quick period of time. We did forget to plant around the flagpole, so I might be doing that myself. But yes, it went well, and go check it out. Hopefully we keep all the plants alive in this upcoming week of really hot weather. So yeah.
Yeah, those two. Yeah, these two been after the water.
Well, in this heat, might need 2 rounds of water.
Needs my attention.
Yes, it was a beautiful looking addition to the Veterans Memorial.
Meredith. I did appreciate that. It looked very nice and here that and thank you for staff who are working and getting things done. That's all I have to say.
Bill?
I'm fine for right now.
Okay.
July 4th coming up, so.
That is yours.
Nothing specific. Thank you to all of our staff for being here tonight and providing reports and being here to answer questions. We appreciate that.
I would like to have one comment, same day that they were doing the Veterans Affairs gardening, I would attended a Bucks County Association of Township Officers workshop about answering the call for emergency services. So for anything for EMS, fire, and some police. It's the first of 3. I found it very informative. I would suggest that all of our Board of Supervisors, if you can, attend the next one, which I do not know at what time it is. It has not been arranged.
Yeah, I don't think it's there yet.
No,
they're working on it.
Yes, but it was very informative. We had discussions from 4 or 5 different fire companies, Bristol, Ben Salem. Someone from Point Pleasant was supposed to be there, but was not able to be there. Northampton, and I think we had other fire companies there that were not talking in that. One was from Palisade, which has just gone underway as a merger. Yeah. So, and then also Doylestown was there. So, but it's very eye-opening about what could happen in the future. So we need to be thinking about that in the future. So, okay. Action item 8, public comment. I see we have lots of public. So please come, state your name and address, with names, and just come to the front so we can have you on the microphone.
John Jones, 113 North Lane. How is everyone doing today? Great. So wanted to give you an update on 104 South Lime Kiln, and hopefully I can get an update of what actions have been taken. Apparently what has happened is they've actually moved most of their trucks that they were parking for the 8 or so people who live there from the back of the building to the front of the building. They also erected a fence so that we cannot see who comes and goes. I'm sure the fence is not permitted. So that's been going on. Apparently the tack now is to hide that it's not being used as a single family home. Nothing has changed. The barn is still being used by the carpenter. He was there at least 4 times last week. He pulls his truck up to the barn. He's in there for maybe 4 hours a day. So whoever said that that has been taken care of, it hasn't. He still uses it. That's basically where we are with the update. So I want to know what actions have been taken.
They did come in for a permit for the fence. It is permitted.
Okay.
So that's there. We are working on enforcing it. Whether it's a boarding house or not, we are still looking into that, investigating that, make sure it's not used as a boarding house. So we are still looking into that right now.
Okay, so I know there's also some safety concerns. We talked to Jennifer, who is across the street from the location. She had a garage sale at one point. One of those people came over, bought a couple things, started looking in her garage, asking her about things in the garage. She said, the garage is off limits. There's sales on my front lawn. He went away. He came back with 5 other guys who asked about, let's start talking about what's in the garage. Her husband was there, who actually does speak Spanish, was hearing about what they were talking about, told them all to leave the property. Now, my wife also has been approached by someone there a couple times yelling at her, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And she basically says, I have nothing to say to you. And she goes in the house. It's interesting the way every time we complain about something, this guy shows up in a black truck and starts addressing what we complained about like the next day. I don't know how he's getting his information. It doesn't seem logical that he knows what we complain about the next day. So something's going on there that I don't understand. I think there's also a major gap in the communications here about the zoning that was changed. I have a petition here signed by 81 residents, 81 people who did not know that zoning was changed. I can't believe there's not a communications gap here. How could 81 people in the residence not want something to happen? It happens and none of them know about it. What they're signing is they do not want a multiple dwelling in our neighborhood. So what we're going to ask is that you look into that approval and you reverse it. And it goes back to a rural residential.
Did I answer?
Scott, do you want to answer that one?
There was a lot there. I'm not sure.
Your ball.
It was late last year.
They didn't change up. I'll make one correction real quick. There was no zoning change. They went in for a special exception.
Correct. See now, here's another angle of it.
But there was no, you did not, you have to change zoning. Zoning hearing board can't do that. They can grant a use variance, special exception, other than, but no, there's no change in zoning as far as when you use that terminology, that means this board changed what you can do. And they made that change on that property. The zoning hearing board granted that applicant.
So what you tell me is they only granted a variance.
No,
In this case, with a special exception.
So we don't get
it. Special exception. So the answer is no, you can't go back and change something at this point that's been already granted. And on appeal, there's an appeal process for it. And if it's a special exception, what that means, it's actually a permitted use in that zone. And then there's just certain things they ask for them to come and show to the zoning hearing board to finalize the steps of that permitted use. Whereas a variance that you're granted would be a use that is not permitted with the zone.
So you tell me 81 people's opinion does not mean that they can make a multi-dwelling on that property.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm telling you what the law currently is within the township. That could be something where we talk about the change in zoning that this board can look at, and maybe that could be something that could be changed. But as of when that application would have been filed at the time, that was a permitted use within the zoning district.
By special exception.
Correct.
Yeah.
Permitted use perhaps would be, I think we need to use a little plainer English for people that don't understand the legalese.
Yeah. So that's the R4 zoning district in that area. That's your higher density. That's why you're getting that multifamily.
Okay, so was it part of just South Line Kiln Pike is part of the R4?
Yeah, there's a school.
Or
Yeah,
does it include
pretty much along.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been like that for long.
That multi-dwelling use or the twin use, whatever duplex use, whatever they got approved last year, it is permitted in that district as long as it's not, in general terms, a detriment to the safety, health, and welfare of the surrounding community. That's basically what a special exception is. Yeah, and as long as you meet those criteria and prove that to the zoning hearing board, that special exception is granted.
And at that time, it was granted for a single family home and one other set of twins.
Correct.
At the moment, they want to come in front of the zoning hearing board to tear down the single family home and put up 2 more sets of.
One more set, they revised their application about a month ago. That's why it was continued, because they had a revised application and it had to be re-advertised.
Ultimately, they're asking for 2 twins on the property.
They're asking for right now, they're asking for the existing house to stay. And the original application that came in, they were asking for 2 additional twins. Now they're asking for 1 additional twin,
Different.
to the one that was already approved last year.
So right now, they're gonna keep the house.
Correct.
I understood they're gonna tear down the barn.
I don't believe so. I'd have to look at the plans. Yeah.
They got approval to put a twin home on the property. And now they want to put another twin home on the property.
And
That has not been approved. That's still pending.
And our concern, even with the 1 twin, is that this is just
When
going
is
to
the next
be.
zoning hearing board?
July 2nd.
And it's on for July 2nd.
And I understand that. And if the concern of the community is that the current 1 twin that they're going to build there is going to be used for more seasonal workers to come in. And again, that is not the vision of our neighborhood.
Well, we
which is
are-
a single family home neighborhood.
I believe that is being pursued.
What, the
boarding
current-
house use?
Oh, yeah, we are, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have they been issued any violation notices?
Not as of yet, but we are currently, I'm going back and forth with them, our solicitor, legally, what we need to do.
So our solicitors involved, it's a legal matter.
But there is a point where we cannot discuss what's going on at a.
Well, I don't even know, because it's between the solicitor and the.
Seems as though it's being treated as a very trivial matter, not a trivial matter.
No, it's not being treated as a trivial matter. No.
And it's tough because it is, and I know it isn't to this board, I've been here for 25 years, that zoning has been here for, that R4 is the high density, and it's right up against your neighborhood and others. It's no different than we had issues with commercial along Butler Avenue, and then somewhere that changed to the residents, and that's where I always, Dave can attest this, we always have issues with the different districts changing. It's not considered multifamily, it's a twin home or a duplex, so we do have uses for multifamily. That property isn't big enough for that, so it's looked at differently in zoning. Twin and duplex homes are exactly that. That's not a multifamily. So when I suggest everybody go to the zoning hearing board to include anybody that you talk to about your petition, but just it's not multifamily. It's a duplex, twin home. They're not approved to do multifamily. That would be like what's going on in Butler Avenue with the larger things. That's considered per the zone. I know what it looks like, and I hear you.
Obvious.
I hear you, but I'm just trying to help you. That's where they're not minimizing. It's just the zoning is very black and white. This board does not control. The only thing they control is change that zoning district to something more compatible to your development for future application, but it's not retroactive to what's pending.
If we were to try to change the zoning at this point with their application pending, that's illegal and we would be sued and they would quit.
But the zone was rated residential 1.
I believe so. I have to take a look at it.
I thought it was a rural residential.
Believe me, when it first came in,
I remember the conversation.
I was like, how the heck are they putting the duplexes in there? Because I do receive my family, and there's a pocket that was so before it's online like there.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to the original owner originally, but when I bought my house, and he says, I asked him, what's going on with the land back? And he was like, you have nothing to worry about. My farmhouse is gonna be historical, and they can only put 1 single family home on that open lot. I said, that's perfect. I have no problem with that. And now I'm being told completely different things.
I also, it's my understanding, talking with staff, and I advise the manager, this he's not here tonight, but that this was looked into to prior zoning officers, while the building code official, they're aware of the situation, was looked at. I don't know, it sounds like it's gotten worse, but it's been an ongoing.
I can update, apparently the house, when they changed on, this is according to our building inspector, 2 years ago. Back in 2022, when they changed owner, the house, they got a new UNO, but the building inspector at the time said, you have to make this into a single family home. It wasn't a single family home inside. It was acted as like boarding rooms inside. So apparently now inside the house, it's a single family use. And it acts as a single family house. They got a UNO for that. They wouldn't have gotten a UNO for that if it didn't act as a single family house on the inside.
Okay. So when can I get an update about it being used as a boarding house?
You can keep in touch with me. Yeah, feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call, whatever.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your time.
Same issue. But I have a couple questions. Zodi Combs, I live on North Green. My property is flag lot. It used to be an old water basin that the township owned and then sold to somebody who built a house. I've been there 18 years. My front yard looks to the back of that property. So I'm kind of on the side of the light. So I work at home, I have kids. I see what goes on there on a constant basis. It's actually gotten worse, correct? But prior to what you're saying just now, I have a couple questions. Number one, on the plans that they submitted, the new ones and the old ones, it does say rural residential. Is there a difference between R4 and rural residential, or could you have a rural residential property be in an R4's district? Because I'm not familiar with this.
It's rural residential. Yeah.
It's all.
Okay, so rural residential, by definition of what I've looked at, would not allow for what you just said that it allows. It does not. I mean, I could be researching the wrong thing, but I would like to know where to get the information from the township itself, and I want to see it in written form, not being told. Because we're trying to get information about how to support our, our opposition to what is going on in that property. And you were nice enough, David, when we had the first zoning board meeting, I went in the next day and you gave me some information, but to be honest with you, I can't take up your whole day. I have questions that I want to be able to find myself. I'm having a lot of difficulty trying to find them on the site. It's a little bit difficult to read and where to get them. One of the questions that I had for you that day was about leasing out homes. Like if you have a single family house and you decide to create a lease and lease it out to somebody, is there a permit that is needed by the township? And I believe you said to me, yes. And I said, well, where's the permit that they got to do the lease in the first place? Because they use the house, and John is correct, but I've counted 11 vehicles at that property a week ago between the front parking lot with the driveway and then the back, because they park back and behind. 11 white trucks, basically pickup trucks and vans, marked with the pool company's name, some of them and some not, have seen comings and goings of, and not just visitors, of, like he said, between 8 and 11, I've counted, they bring the dogs out there. I'm not opposed to having neighbors, but that's not, the person who bought that property is not my neighbor. He doesn't even come there. I've never met him. He doesn't live there. He's using this as whatever you want to call it, boarding house. There's a safety issue there. I have a 14-year-old daughter there. I don't know. It's not like I know my neighbor. Like, we may not speak every day, but I know who lives there. And I'm trying to figure out what is our policy as a township about leasing space and whether or not this person has a permit. And, you had said, yes, they need one. Where is it and why is it difficult? Why is it a legal issue? If it's something that we have as a rule in our township, that you need to have a permit, then why are we not able to enforce that? And you actually told me, I'm a little disappointed, to be honest, because you told me that day that you were actually giving notice and you were gonna give notice, and then if they didn't respond within a certain amount of days, then you were gonna give them a fine. But that was a month ago. So I'm trying to figure out, why is this taking, you know, you even alluded to, which you weren't here, but like things being done at that property a couple of years ago. This has been an ongoing issue for years. So that's the house. Let's talk about the barn. It's not one company. It's multiple people that rent out the space in the barn and bring their trucks literally into the yard where there's children out there. There's, you know, it's my neighbor in front of me who backs up directly, who's here, has a young daughter. If she runs out there and someone's driving their truck through the yard, I mean, it's just not what it was meant to be. And the other issue I have too is it's been noted several times, both by the township and also in the plans. And then I haven't been able to see it on any kind of registry, that it's a historic property. So I'm trying to figure out too, because I do lending, both commercial lending and lending to businesses. There are laws against and rules in different townships against, you know, developing a historic property. Like you have to follow certain things. You have to get permission to do that. I'm trying to figure out how we were able to give a special exception without consulting someone from our, I don't know if it's our historic board or whoever manages. Yeah.
I can address that. There's
No,
it's not historic property or anything.
So why are we
They don't
listening?
have a historic board, and I'm used to dealing with those.
No, that's fine.
They don't have that here, and it's not. on-
It's just not
There's
something that we
no board
notate in our township.
unless it's on the federal registry. No,
Okay, so then we should probably remove that from any.
it's
because
not anywhere.
it was on several things, even noted in the minutes to the last zoning hearing meeting. It said historic.
Someone did say that.
Yeah.
I saw, I actually did read it. I don't know where, but anybody can say, you just have it's historic and now it's in this meeting.
Well, I didn't, I questioned.
I know.
because I can't.
What you're saying is, yeah, because
It's
someone said it,
but
it's
it's
not
not,
recorded in the minutes, is what you
I
said.
don't hear, but that's coming from.
I should just eliminate that.
We shouldn't really refer to it that way if it's not. It's gonna give the indication to us that it is. I'm just putting it in there.
No, that's a fair thing, but I would say, in dealing with this property, this is the first night I've ever heard someone mention it as potentially being a historic property, so this is not something we.
And so, you know, and to that point, it may not be registered because maybe there's not that many properties registered, but the property's been there forever. I don't know if the women are here still from, so, you know, and so there's safety concern, there's concern about use, there's concern. I have nothing against bringing in workers from, you know, using the visas that are allowable to bring in workers to work in our country during. I had au pairs that lived in my home. I have nothing against that. What I'm concerned about is that that's not even being used properly. There have been landscaping companies in our township, I mean, not in our township, in our county, that have misused that before because there's a benefit to them having 11 people in one house because the payment for that, the support for that goes to the business. So there's a lot going on here that I just think it needs to be investigated. But I think the simplest thing is that if there is supposed to be a permit and they don't have one, why is that not being enforced? We enforce it for everything else. I mean, you know, we have to put up a fence, we have to get a permit. We have to do this, we have to get a permit. If we don't have a permit, we get in trouble. I'm just not understanding. The other thing now that we're talking about it too is that there's also wildlife that uses that whole entire place for their, I mean, we have everything there. We have, you know, groundhogs, deer, everything. You know, I'm just trying to figure out, you know, how this is happening. And I think one of the things is that we become big and we don't really realize, and I'm sure David, like he showed us, has a packet like this. And it's like, let's get through it. And, you know, there's an implication here. Good thing that we found out about it. Unfortunately, I can tell you, I have a PO box now. And so I get very little mail in my mailbox, and I'm not saying that I don't inspect everything, but I usually inspect everything. I never got a notice last year about that property getting, you know, up for special exception, because I probably would have done what I did this year, which was, you know, ask about it. So that's unfortunate.
You're being heard. You're being heard. And
That's why, you know, that's why the board was that, I guess was the main meeting, why they voted to oppose the application. So in addition to the one that's pending.
Who voted to oppose the
This
application?
board.
Oh, okay, this was the last meeting?
It was a couple meetings ago.
Okay.
Because remember, it got continued.
So then he's not able to.
So, okay, so.
He's still able to ask, but we'll go to oppose it, sending me as the
Okay.
solicitor. They will be there as well, and showing your help, and we can talk about it as well, like you guys are there. And I can call you with the issues you're having and how this isn't being used like that as well. So that's the thing we can, you know, if you give me your information, I'll make time with you, because in all honesty, that's the type of stuff we need to show that. Yes, well, I talked about the special exception being permitted. This is why things come up with special exceptions, because things like this, now we're getting to realize is that it's not just being used as a duplex where you have some small families. You have, you know, 4 or 5 people living in potentially in each unit, 8 people in one unit. Those are things we can look at and show that it's going beyond the scope and going beyond what can actually be in that district.
Okay.
I was gonna say that I know it's frustrating. I'm an attorney. Stephanie is an attorney. Obviously, our solicitor is an attorney. The legal system does not move quickly. We have no authority. We can't send the police in there to chase everyone out. It's not legal. We can do it to you. We can't do it to them. There's a process. There are safeguards. There are time limits. And we must abide by them. We have to follow the law.
Where are they written? Where are these? Where
You
does
look at
it say?
codification of ordinances, it's on their web, I'm on it right now. You go on their website.
Right.
Talk about issues.
I've been there.
Codification of
Mhm.
ordinances,
Okay.
okay?
Mhm.
So like the answer to it's all there, zoning, everything you're talking about, the zoning districts, it actually. Scott, it actually just says residential district, RR is residential, you have suburban. Single family residential, watershed conservation, after residential is village, that's the order it goes in.
And I've seen that.
Yeah, so there's not rural, it doesn't say rural in there, it just says residential.
Before I leave here, I would like an answer to that question if you have it. Is there a requirement for a permit to lease a property in our township?
I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe that there's no request.
Yeah, I don't-
Permit.
I know you have to get a UNO for a new.
Because you had told me yes. I mean, you may have been, I know you were kind of flustered by my questions that
No
day.
offense, but you were bombarding me with about 50 questions in about 30
It wasn't,
seconds.
I was trying to go a little bit.
You get my point.
Well, David, I asked you for information.
Right.
And I asked you for information. I was speaking just like I am today.
Mhm.
And you were immediately upset. So I don't know why that is. I do feel as a member of this community that we should be able to ask questions and be given either the answer or a place to find the answer. And it should be accurate. And so, you know, if you don't know, I'm fine with somebody saying to me, I'm not sure, I will get back to you, but I don't want to hear something that's not true and then have to investigate that later. And it is a valid question. I wanted to know that because I'm trying to figure out how this is even happening.
And to go back to your point about me not. I've been in constant contact.
Okay.
So I'm going back and forth with, I don't need to issue my first letter. So he will get a notice of violation if these issues are not rectified.
Mhm.
So
How long does he have to rectify?
I don't know right now, but what we're doing, me and the solicitor is investigating. This doesn't happen overnight.
Well, that's what you told me that day, which was a month ago, that you'd been investigating it for the month prior, actually since April, because my neighbors, and again, You're getting upset, but this is a valid question. I'm not attacking you. I'm asking a valid question. And I'm getting answers that are not melding together. You told me that you had been doing that in April. And so now you told me that day you were issuing him a notice. Within that week, you were issuing him a notice. Then you were going to see if he complied. Then if he didn't comply, he was going to get a fine. And I actually asked you, I said, well, what's the fine for that? And you said, oh, I don't know, between like $500 and $800. And I'm trying to figure out, you know, when I do things, and follow things at work, there's a set of procedural things. I'm assuming that we have a set of procedures, that it's just not a random number that comes out, and it's not just a random timeline. Like, I understand if there's a time frame because you have to engage law enforcement or you have to gather information. But what is the proper timeline for someone to receive a notice? Because if you don't give them a written notice, is it really enforceable? And then if you don't have a written notice, you're telling me your attorneys, and I'm watching, you know, and don't you have to have a written notice? Shouldn't that have happened when we first gave you the information and you saw what he was doing there, and there should be a written notice. Then the written notice, that's when you do the enforcement and you look and find out what's happening. And then if it's not happening, how much longer are we going to give this person? I don't get it. And why does he not have a written notice? That's what I'd like to know. Why does he not have a written notice?
Last meeting, we were told a written notice did go out. He told us last week, I sent him a written notice.
Okay.
Now I'm hearing it.
All right, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, can I just defend myself first?
Stop. I don't think you should be defending yourself.
I think everyone in this room can feel that the residents are very upset about this. This is very personal. Everybody's house to themselves, very personal, and we get that. Our staff is doing their best that they can at this moment. I think what we need to do is take a breath and have Dave and Scott assemble themselves, work out what they are able to share with you with the timeline of what has happened, and then be able to reach out to you with a definite answer. I think at the moment we're going around in circles with what everybody is perceiving as who's doing what and going where. So I understand. So is that able and possible to do, that we will be able to bring it back to one answer? What is the timeline? What is actually happening right now? And what are the next steps? And I would say also what you could do to help support, so Scott, support you in the zoning hearing board. So if you would like to be part of the opposition of it.
And can we have a time frame on it?
So I'm going to ask first, who would like to be the point person for that communication?
I'll be the point person.
John Knights. Okay. When would that be possible to do?
Which part?
Just gathering together of what has happened, what's the timeline, and what is the next step. A simple gathering of what's actually happened right now, and what you could just, as you can share. I mean, because there are parts that we are not allowed to share at this venue.
What are your thoughts?
I mean, give us a week or so. I mean,
But by the end of the week. So,
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And the other thing we'll need to, another thing we can use is all this information you bring us, like I said, I can use that in that hearing, I can kind of be there, you guys can attend, you can witnesses for the township as to why this is not a good idea for them to get further approvals when they're asking for more, they're coming back.
And we certainly will be there, and we want to do that, and we want to, you know, participate in that. Anytime, I'll be done as soon as I say this. Most of the concern too is that what's happening currently.
That's, I have to jump in. That is not gonna, is a separate issue. That's why everybody's coming.
Right.
Yes.
Because zoning board can deny everything and you're no further along. I just want you not to leave here thinking.
No, I don't.
That is so separate.
That's why I keep saying it.
And it's why it's so hard, to be honest with you. I don't think you don't enforce, you have to investigate the problem. It's usually 30, 60, 90 days. We have some about people clearing trees, and we're 6 months into it because you can't just go find them right away. You have to document everything. You have to build a case. It's not enforcement letter first, then that. I'm not defending him as far as how long it's been going on, but it's longer than 30 days, 60 days. I'm involved in some of them. I have to go out with him and look at things that involves engineering. Tree clearing is a big one, stormwater complaints with public works. It takes months and months and months. Now, once it's clear cut that they violated something, then yes, it'll be issued. But I'm not saying he's not defending that he doesn't move quick enough right now, but that's a very complicated issue, along with the zoning hearing board cases that are completely separate from what's going on there. So the zoning hearing board will not be involved in anything, but it will help Scott with that.
And I'm gonna say one other thing to you. If someone approaches you in an aggressive manner, whether it's on the street or in your backyard, I don't know why you're not dialing 911. I don't understand that.
Well, we have called the police in the past for prior to these guys living there. I mean, we've had a shooting there, we've had other things there.
If it happens,
I'm just saying.
Giant, would you hesitate?
Well, I'm not John's wife. I wasn't the one that was approached.
Okay.
I've been approached by him and I've gone in my house. I'm not afraid of him in some way, the person, I don't know him. What I'm concerned about is the 11 people that are living there that we don't know. I want to just speak to this issue really quick. I understand what you just said. That's why we're here. Of course, I think that issue will resolve itself. I'm mostly concerned about what's being done. And I'm going to say this. 60, 90 days, there should be a written notice. I don't know what the procedure is because I can't find it. I would like the procedure. So you said a week, that's fine. I appreciate that. We'll wait for the answer to that. And thank you, everyone, for your time.
Rob Moretti, 116 North Lane. So I looked at the minutes for the zoning. There was 34 letters that were said that went out. Lisa and I spent, I'd say 10 to 15 hours. We went through the neighborhood to get the petitions, 80 million signatures, 60 houses in Blyden Square, 7 people weren't home. I got 89% of those individuals opposing this. And no one said to me they got a letter. Is there proof?
Which letter? Letter of notice of the
in
hearing?
2023.
Of notice of the hearing.
Yes.
They did.
My name was on that list among 34 individuals. I never received a letter.
Did you attend the hearing?
Didn't even know it existed because I didn't get the letter. How else would I know?
Letters go out? What was the end of 20?
It was July and August of 2023 in which he got permission for the single unit. But there was 34 individuals on that list. And no one has said to me that they got a letter.
Okay. Well, they had to be, the zoning hearing board is quasi judicial.
And
that means it's like a hearing before a judge.
Okay.
Okay. And there has to be proof that the letters have been sent out. So part of that record with the zoning hearing board for that hearing is proof that those letters went out.
How do you prove that?
So the application, the original application that they went for, I'm assuming was continued, was in July 19th, 2023.
Yes.
So they have a full list of all the people that they had sent letters to, 34 residents.
Yes.
So
my name is on that list.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Jones did say that he did get a letter.
Okay. I did not get a letter. Marty did not get a letter. Jay Ogle didn't get a letter. 34 people. I have one person who got a letter. How can you prove that those letters were sent out? Is there a way to
They were
prove
sent,
that?
whether they were received.
You sign an affidavit, it's notarized, even put it right in the mailbox.
okay, so they bring the letters to the township and you physically see them, put them in the mailbox. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, we put them right in the mailbox, right out front.
Okay.
Yep.
So as far as
That's a notarized action. You said it was
we have
notarized.
notarized affidavit.
Could that be presented to what? Because I did hours of walking the neighborhood and was like, and I
You
looked at
also
the
have
minutes.
to remember 3 years people may.
the way people acted when I told them what was going on, I think they would have remembered. Because it was something that I got 89% of the neighborhood saying, no.
But
Well, like,
since it wasn't a problem back then, they may have seen a letter from the township and just.
okay.
And then it was sent out to 34.
And townships using, what does it go out? Does New Britain have, does it go out our letterhead or does the applicant have to send it out?
No, we sent it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we can get documentation on, you said it was notarized, but that would be possible.
Yeah, you fill out right to know request.
Okay.
That might be with, do you have to keep the files with CJ?
I have the files.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can file a right to know request for. I think you have to be very specific about what you would like, so.
Yeah, just there's a description line on the.
Okay. Thank you. It just was frustrating when I was doing.
Yeah, it's anyone within 500 feet owns the property.
And that would be those 34 people, because that was on the list in the zoning meeting minutes. So there's 34 people within the 500 feet.
And that would be including the people across the road as well.
Okay.
500 feet radius, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I have a question.
So you're saying that you're.
Your name, please.
Lisa Jones, 113 North Lane. You're saying that you're corresponding with them, so does that mean that you don't send letters out just because you're on the phone with them? Because how's the proof that you are contacting them and that there's a complaint or there's no trail?
I believe you're gonna get that trail by the end of the week, of what's been going on.
But paperwork, if he's talking, he said he was talking to him on the phone.
Right.
It seems like
Scott, Go ahead, Scott.
I'll talk a little bit. So, first things first, the easiest thing to do is to try and get. That's what, and sometimes that's where we are in the situation. We talk about the investigation period, we talk about the notice period, but in between there, we try to get someone to apply because that's easier. It's easier than going to court, easier than engaging me as the attorney. It's easier like that. So Dave, phone calls, things like that, everything still gets documented. It might not be an official letter, but there's notes, things like that, that have been taken, all the complaints.
He said a letter was sent out. He called me and told me he sent a letter out on April 1st. Can I see that letter? Can I get a copy of that letter? That he verbally told me he sent it out.
Same thing, you would have, same thing, you have to submit
Right to
a
know?
request,
Okay.
yes. Because there are certain things when it comes to this, because it can be in court, we'd have to take a look at it and make sure it's still something that we.
Do you realize it's an issue with all those people living there in a single family home?
Yes. We're well
Do
aware.
you recognize that?
Yeah.
Yes.
But so with that, like I said, so there's that period in the middle, talking about, there's an investigation period, a compliance period. And that's kind of where we are right now. And the idea is you want to get them to comply because, like I said, once I get engaged, now it's costing the township even more money. It's costing time. It's costing going to court. We have to file things, notice letters in that period as well. So once the notice letter goes out. Now there's two types of notice letters too. There's a notice letter to try and just get the compliance. And then there's the official notice letter, which is the one that triggers the enforcement action. That hasn't happened yet.
Why?
But like I said, we're in the middle of that period between the investigation and that point. And that
So
trying,
April 1st, like when did the investigation start?
Can I just butt in real quickly? The April 1st letter was for the business being operated out of there. So I
also questioned about people living there because I sent you the video.
understand. So that was a separate letter. I sent them a letter about maybe a month or two after that, month and a half. When I kept getting more complaints about people living there, I sent the letter out and now I've been corresponding with them either on the phone or by email, trying to rectify the situation.
And what rectifies it? Having them move out?
Yeah, I'm working on it. We're in the investigation right now.
there's. Rudimentary wrenching.
And they weren't notices of violation.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that they're the initial ones to try and get it. So once you get in through that, so like, that's what he said, Dave's trying to say is we're trying to get compliance because it's the easiest way to solve this problem. As Mary Beth said, the legal process is slow. We have things we have to follow within the ordinances, we have timelines. Courts take forever. Right? I have another client who filed a notice of violation in January. sent a notice of violation in January. Their court hearing isn't until next week. That's why we try to work on the compliance standpoint first, trying to get them to voluntarily solve the problem. Because once we get into the adversarial part, tempers flare, people want to dig in their heels, things like that. If we can work with them to get them resolved, it works a lot easier. We had another property, a different issue, not near you, where there was violations. We sent the notice of violation. We kept it short because this guy was willing to work with us, just got the what we needed to start the violation process. We're getting to that point now with him if this continues, as we continue through our investigation into compliance.
So does this have to do with the extra residents living there and the barn?
We're looking at both, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, one of the reasons it's so complicated is there's now 3 issues going on here. You have the barn, the businesses, how the residence is established, the people living there, as well as the zoning hearing. So we have 3 things we're looking at currently with this one property, trying to get everything together and get it resolved.
How long does it take a permit to get a fence?
Fence permit? An hour. Fence permit's long.
And that's public record?
Yeah, fence permits are the easiest thing to get, as long as it's shown properly and you're saying you're gonna do it the right height.
Does anyone go out and look at it and make sure it is done correctly? Then you signed off on it that it was done correctly?
Yeah, he came in for his permit application for a couple of days ago. The permit isn't actually issued yet. He came in after the fact, but I looked at it,
So he can put it up without getting the permit in hand?
No, technically he can't, but he came in after the fact. I didn't know he did
You know how many
that.
people put up fences
I mean,
and sheds
I
without
don't
being-
this is not just putting up.
Well, no, because you're talking about the fence now. Okay?
Yeah,
So
well, I
this is what we
because
have
if
to
it's
guide
illegal, then it just goes to show the integrity of the person that's renting.
But
the
that
place.
doesn't solve the problem. We
not-
hear you. We're working on it. We hear you. We're not taking it trivial. It is very important. It's quality of life, and that's what we're here. But it takes time. And Scott's just explained to you the process that we try to get compliance because.
I'll save you guys.
Well, it's not the money, it's the time it's gonna save. If we can get someone to come into compliance in 35 days rather than waiting 9 months for a spring. It's better for everybody.
Mike Ursamarso, Northland, same issue.
Say that again.
Mike Ursamarso. I know that there's any information to John week. Is there anything we can be doing? You mentioned there's 3 separate issues. Anything that we can be doing to not miss anything like last time? And correct this. If you give guidance or.
Well, you have a date, you have a hearing, if you're interested in testifying, send your information to Dave, he'll get it to me and I'll get in contact.
What kind of? Is it just, finding out daughter and what's see as usual? Is there?
The best thing would be obviously write it down to help yourselves, but photographs are the best thing. Visual evidence,
What do you want pictures of?
whatever you have.
You guys or no.
Because he can't go out and drive the property.
No, I have all those pictures and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
I say one thing in Cleveland. So, John knows again.
I think one of the things that's kind of being missed here is the communication aspect. I know your procedure. I've gone out to your site. I've seen these hearings. You can get into it. It's like 15 clicks. There are people who there's no way are going to find these meetings in our neighborhood. There's no way they're going to go through that. I know you started a newsletter. I think that would be very helpful if it was more offensive, if you sent it out to people who were interested in what was going on. In plain English, what zoning things are up for approval, what zoning things have been approved, in plain English that can come to my email and come to people who aren't very digital savvy in my neighborhood, so that they can read it and understand these things. Because like Rob said, people were absolutely shocked that there's a multi-dwelling home or duplex, however you want to describe it, that's going to be built in our neighborhood. Absolutely flawed, had no clue it was happening. So there is a communication problem.
So we are working, looking forward to doing a new website at the end of the year or beginning of next year. And I would like to see on that where residents can put in their own email and we could send out a weekly newsletter. That would be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comment? I thank you all for staying and bringing your concerns to this board. We hear you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to, sorry. I may have to make a motion to adjourn. Announcements, we have Park and Rec meeting tomorrow night at 7 p.m. We have cancelled Veterans Affairs Committee and Planning Commission. The Environmental Advisory Council is on Thursday, June 27th. And the next zoning hearing board is July 2nd, which is the day after our next Board of Supervisors meeting on July 1st at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn at 9:06 p.m.? I make that motion. Mary Beth, do I have a second? Second. All those in favour? Aye. Thank you very much for tonight.